Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Elijah Walker, and I'm currently attending John Paul Stevens High School. These are my teammates, Diego, Mark, Jonathan, and Jack. And this is our presentation, our ACE presentation, the Riverside High Rise.
Hello. Us four, me, Diego, Mark, Jonathan, and Jack are from the John Jay School, and we came together to work on this project. And so brief description of our project is actually a multi-family residential housing complex, which is going to be set inside Hemisphere Park next to the Henry B. Gonzalez Center. Of course, it's going to have amenities and retail, but my question for you is, do you guys know that there's an actual real P3 project going on in the city right now? Because if you didn't, there is, and that's what our project is based on.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Mark Torres. Thank you, Diego. So this is basically the location of the area. So this is East Market. This is Alamo Street. And the yellow area is where the building's going to be. So I'm going to pass it to Jonathan.
These were some of our preliminary sketches in the early planning of where we were going to put our building. And they do look a little messy because it was part of an activity where we got paper and we were in our groups and we had about 30 seconds to jot down where we wanted to place the building, and then we would pass it without communication. So this allowed us to work together and figure out that communication was going to be key in deciding where we put our project in correlation with the Tower of Americas, the Riverwalk, and all the beautiful things around our city.
For design inspiration, you cannot see it. Okay, for design inspiration, we were brainstorming different ways we could design the building, and we looked up images such as the Riverwalk, the Alamo, and some other buildings that are not in San Antonio that had this crackle design that we took inspiration from that you can see later in the presentation, if you can see it.
So continuing the project, so we're talking about the programming right now. And luckily for us, we actually got a chance to talk to the real project manager of the P3 project that they're currently working on right now. And after talking with them, he gave us incredible information. He told us that the building has to be 14 stories high because it cannot be taller than the Tower of Americas. It cannot cast a shadow over the Alamo. It cannot cast a shadow over the Riverwalk. So because of that, we took that all into account. And he even told us that we have to have an extra 40% of the parking for the public parking. So we incorporate all of that into our project.
So after deciding what project we were going to do, we had to figure out how we were going to lay this out. And we approached in a way that I hadn't seen before, which was a good thing because the architect showed us a more efficient way. So we had to consider what goes in an apartment complex, like office space, amenities, retail, parking, and of course, residential units.
I'm Jonathan Gonzalez, and I was lucky enough to be the designer of the retail and office level. So you can see here that my original sketch is very different from my final design, but that's part of the planning. And so we have the retail on the outside because what you see, you can sell. So that's why it's on the outside. Then we have the office spaces in the middle. Then you see a different design at the top because the river would be right there in correlation to our building. And we wanted to have something that coming off the Riverwalk, it was eye candy and you would see it and want to come up to our building.
So I was in charge of the parking lot. As you can see right here, my original design was much, much smaller than my final. And the reason for this is because I only took in count for the amount of units for the building, which is about 120 parking spaces. However, after talking to Jamal, the project manager of the Real P3 project, I had to increase the size of the building, which also increased the amenities and retail stores. So then I did have a total of 290 parking spaces because I made 2 floors. However, I did have to remove some parking spots because I had to include stairs and elevators that went through the entire building of this project.
This is the amenities level, and as you can see, the old floor plan is at the top, is what we were originally thinking about. It had a moat-style pool around the outside of the other amenities, but we decided on going with a more practical, easy layout to access to all of the amenities.
So when considering what we were going to include in our units, we had to realize what would go in a single unit. Simple things like a bedroom, a closet, living room, bathroom, and kitchenette. After we figured out a standard design, we came out with a floor plan or a layout, and this is what we came out with. Before we came up with the final layout, we had two other ones, and really, we stuck with the one that we have right now because it carries more meaning to it. Like the shape of it draws similarities to the Alamo and almost like a river running with running water. On the elevations, I added wood panels vertically because it adds almost a height effect to it, just like the building, which is right next to it, the Grand Hyatt. I also added the crackle effect, which Jack mentioned earlier, because it gave it a nice design. And the roofs are sloped because a building like this does not deserve just a basic flat roof. Here's some renderings to show you some more of the materials we use on the outside, like limestone, which is common around the city of San Antonio. I also added storefronts for natural lighting because nobody wants a dark apartment. And even though we couldn't get too many interior renderings, I have one of the kitchen inside of a unit.
All right, so this is the landscape area. So as you can see on the bottom left, this is the actual drawing. This was the third drawing that I've done, and I want to go with this because the flight of stairs actually correspond with that patch of grass, which is actually a slope. And like Jonathan said, there's actually, let me